Patrick Kane is currently playing out his years on Detroit. One of the biggest legends in hockey history and still in the league, but if you ask someone getting into hockey right now what made him so good, you will hear about his shootout moves, how he was an iconic Chicago Blackhawk, his nickname was Showtime, but what does any of that really mean? Was prime Patrick Kane actually that good? Let's look at his top 5 career moments and find out what made him so good at each stage, beginning with his debut in the NHL. To figure out why Kane is so great, you gotta understand how good he was in his rookie season. Chicago was terrible for years before this, a huge market that had one playoff win over the last 12 years. They won the 2007 draft lottery and got Patrick Kane, an American who dominated in the Ontario Hockey League. Kane's rookie season was unbelievable, led the Blackhawks in assists and points and won the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. This was built on, while being a smaller player, his lateral skating ability and ability to deceive defenders. And he's small. In fact, he's actually tied for being the smallest first overall pick in NHL history. What usually happens to these smaller skill guys when they come in is that they're unreal on the power play. And that's another one of Patrick Kane's highlights as a rookie. He finished first on the Blackhawks in power play points and finished ahead of guys like Daniel Sedin, Martin St. Louis, and Alex Ovechkin in power play assists. The advanced stats considered him an all-around great player with only really his playmaking sticking out as elite. Mind you, as an 18-year-old undersized winger, having nothing looking bad from an advanced stats category is ridiculously difficult. The only 2 players since Kane with similar draft profiles are Jack Hughes and Connor Bedard. Neither of them were this well-rounded in their rookie season. Okay, take home Rookie of the Year and move on quickly because obviously a guy this good is going to start making some noise. And yeah, he made some noise. So we know this guy has unreal agility and is a power play producer, but about a decade into his career, he was also the league's most valuable player. In 2015-16, he took a rookie, Artemi Panarin, to win Rookie of the Year. Patrick Kane helped him win that award by putting up 46 goals and 106 points, winning his own MVP, the player voted MVP, and the scoring race. Clearly the best player in hockey that season. This is where we get to see how elite Kane's goal scoring is. He ranked as the #1 finisher in the NHL that season by a sizable margin. Chicago finished 5th in the league that year, while Kane's shooting and finishing alone had a wins above replacement of 5 wins. That's to say, in layman's terms, if Kane was an average shooter, Chicago would be expected to drop from 5th in the NHL down to 15th. He had a laser of a shot that's given time and space because if you play the body on Kane, he can easily walk you. He was even practicing the original version of the toe drag release, adjusting the angle of the shot to open up new shooting lanes. Even bringing the puck out to the blue line to blow up the defensive structure, using the 10-2 skating form to pivot and create leverage, sniping it from 40 feet out. And you wonder who the Hughes family looked up to growing up? Speaking of being ahead of the curve though, you know how everyone's shooting low nowadays? Kane scored a crazy amount of his goals by faking upstairs, shooting low. It wasn't really considered a highlight back in the day, but I think there's a community of sickos nowadays who can appreciate how these goalies are consistently out to lunch, having to leave the 5-hole open. And 2016 is also the season where Patrick Kane had his most backhand goals in a year. This skill of his was growing for a while, and yeah, it's super useful on the breakaway, forehand, backhand, don't call, just text my agent. Kane became unreal at utilizing his agility and playmaking to create these disgusting looks in transition. This is an X factor for Kane, disguising his release in a position where he could be simply corralling the puck. We saw the backhand goal throughout Kane's entire career. Some of his greatest moments were backhand snipes, but this year is when it just became another tool in the shed. He was elite at scoring goals. I can't stop talking about how crazy this season was because Kane also set the point streak record for American-born players, 26 straight games. Almost 2 months straight where Kane was going to end up on the stat sheet. He was the most dominant athlete in the world for a 2-month stretch. And the cherry on top of all of this, Kane became the first ever American-born MVP in the history of hockey, breaking open what's possible for the next generation of American hockey players. But the reason this season isn't a top 3 moment for Kane is because, yeah, he was absolutely gross, the most popular guy in hockey, but the 6 years before all this fame and glory, Kane had already carved out a legacy as the most clutch playoff performer of all time. And that started in 2010. We've seen how good Patrick Kane is as a player. He's undersized, but he's so good at skating and he has a laser of a shot, but I actually haven't even mentioned his #1 trait yet, his hands. People call McDavid the Kyrie of hockey. I'm sorry, but part of being the Kyrie of hockey is being smaller than everyone and still walking through them. Patrick Kane, baby. In the 2010 playoffs, it was Kane's third season in the NHL. He finished that playoffs with 28 points, putting himself among all-time U22 playoff company. But this is the year when the league went on notice about how good Kane really is. Chicago made the Cup Finals against Philadelphia on one of the biggest stages we'd seen in a while in this sport. And Patrick Kane, in 6 games, became the youngest player in NHL history to put up 3 goals and 8 points in a Cup Finals. But in Game 6, 4 minutes into overtime, he only had 2 goals and 7 points. See, right now, overtime is horizontal hockey. No one's getting any shot attempts, they're just dumping it in and dumping it out. And then Patrick Kane stepped on the ice. He called for the pass, hit a double fake, and won the first Stanley Cup for Chicago in 49 years, breaking the curse. It's an iconic moment. It changed the franchise, and it was done on the back of the best hands we've seen from a winger in maybe NHL history. The hands are everywhere with Kane. Countless shootout classics, you could call him the shootout GOAT, and yet doing it in a Cup Finals overtime game to win the Stanley Cup, that's how you can tell he's actually built different. He showed his hands in 2010, but 3 years later in 2013, Chicago hadn't been back to the Cup Finals since 2010. So it went that Pittsburgh won in 2009, Chicago won in 2010, Boston won in 2011, and LA won in 2012. But now in 2013, the conference finals were in the East, it was Boston versus Pittsburgh, and the West was Chicago versus LA. This is the ultimate ringer of dominant hockey teams in the 2010s. On top of that, it was a lockout shortened season, so every team was more fresh heading into the playoffs. You could argue this was one of the best playoffs of all time, and in Game 5 versus LA, Patrick Kane created one of the most iconic celebrations of all time. Toews and Kane, iconic duo, up 3-1 in this series, in overtime, on a 2-on-1. Everyone knew Toews was going to pass, and yet when it landed on Kane's stick, no one could do anything. Patrick Kane is the most clutch player in the world. He just completed a hat trick to break Los Angeles' heart in Chicago while hitting the heartbreaker celebration. Crazy work. But now it's Chicago versus Boston. One of these teams is going to establish themselves as the best team of the decade. It's a tied series, entering Game 5 in Chicago. A win here puts either team ahead. Patrick Kane's been incredible at showing up at the biggest moments this playoffs, and tonight is no exception. This is where we see a skill of his that's almost never talked about nowadays. Being a smaller guy with a high hockey IQ means that you can still be an effective net front player if you time it right. Kane would always creep up behind the net right as a shot from the point went on, positioning himself where he could tap in the rebound. That's how we scored a shorthanded goal to win this series against Nashville in 2010, and that's how we scored the first goal of the game tonight against Boston. Knowing how to slow your skating to stay in the right spot is how we got goal number 2 for Chicago as well, the game winner. Well, it's down to Game 6, and Chicago's up 3-2 in the series thanks to Patrick Kane. Boston is up 2-1 in the game though, and it's pretty late. Boston's defense is the best in the league, and running 3 men back means it's almost impossible to create any offense, especially this late, unless you're Patrick Kane. Walk 1 man, step through 2 more, sidesteps another and puts it on net, follow it up by keeping possession against the wall. He completely dismantled Boston's neutral zone setup. Within 5 seconds, Chicago tied the game. It's tied 2-2 with just over a minute remaining. Boston's completely rattled, and Chicago's fourth line goes out and gets a game-winning goal 20 seconds later. Stanley Cup number 2 for Patrick Kane. And this time, he's a playoff MVP, winning the Conn Smythe, coming off the back of being the most clutch player in the world. At this point, he's a Hall of Famer, but 2015 is when he became one of the most iconic players to ever play hockey. This year, however, he was injured for 12 weeks during the season, which actually turned out to be a blessing for Chicago. Basically, the salary cap doesn't count in the playoffs. Kane's huge salary being off the books right up until the playoffs start means that they're able to add Timonen and Vermette, players who became incredibly important as, according to everyone who played on the Blackhawks at this time, this was the hardest Stanley Cup to win. Basically, everyone was getting hurt in Chicago, the depth was hard to keep from previous years, and other teams are getting pretty damn good. And yet, in round 1 against Minnesota, Patrick Kane showed why his nickname is Showtime. Crash the net, bring it to the backhand, tap it in, let's go home. See, this version of the Blackhawks wasn't as deep as previous years, but at this point, Patrick Kane was an experienced playoff performer, already known as the most clutch guy in hockey, and you're actively watching him tear apart teams without the same help he's had in the past. We've talked about Kane's stick handling maybe being the best of all time, his puck control being so elite, and his ability to score goals in every way. He has a clutch gene, but what's forgotten is that he never had a single season with more goals than assists in his career. He was a playmaker first and foremost. Game 7 against Anaheim, another conference finals matchup against a team banging on the door of contention. Patrick Kane assists on the first goal and is on the ice for the second goal. And for the third goal, the puck comes right to him. He immediately fakes a slap shot to drop the defender and get Frederik Andersen out of position. The perfect pass to Saad, the kind of pass that no matter who's finishing, will have a goal at the end. Perfection. This was a game where Patrick Kane had a playmaking takeover. Everything he did was gross. But it's now a 2-goal game. There's 6 minutes left in the third period in Anaheim. Kane, so much composure, has the perfect saucer pass to Seabrook. Tape to tape over 2 defenders' sticks, goal. Chicago's going back to the Cup Finals. Against Tampa Bay, who, by the way, hated the fact that Kane was even able to play after Chicago was way above the salary cap. Hopefully they don't learn anything from that. It's game 6 right now. Chicago's up 3-2 at home. In the 355 minutes of ice time leading up to now, nobody had a multi-goal lead in this entire series. Not once. 100% of this Cup Finals was either 1 goal away from tying or taking the lead. Up until 5 minutes remaining, at home. After Tampa Bay laid on the pressure before it went the other way, everyone in the building, the entire building, trainers, staff, fans, everyone knew that Richards was passing to Kane. And yet, see, Tampa needed to learn something. This was a lesson in hockey history. If you're banking on skill, a young, exciting team looking to make a name for yourself, go ahead, try to change the narrative. But when it comes to prime Chicago, the dynasty, the face of that team is Patrick Kane. And there's no way anyone could ever stop that man. The most important skill, talent, conviction, ability, intangible, whatever you want to call it, prime Patrick Kane was inevitable. And he changed one of the most storied franchises in the world into the best team of the decade. Looking at Patrick Kane now, don't forget what he's done for the sport. The mentor to the Hughes family, the biggest influence for Matthew Tkachuk, Gavin McKenna's idol, the player Matt Barzal studied as a kid. He trains with Austin Matthews in the summer and Mitch Marner wanted to be like him. He's the best American-born player in the history of hockey and the most clutch to boot, but there is and there will only ever be one Patrick Kane.